Well, if you got a dollar, won't just lousy down. You know that I got rhythm that could suit your budget fine.
All right, it's Trusty going in for another shop along video. This time heading into State Street Market Shops. I've never been here. It is just north of downtown Elgin on State Street, obviously. It says it's 35 vendors. Looks like a pretty big building. We'll see what they've got as a mix inside. I've heard some good things about it. There's a big sign that says Antiques right in front of it. Very loud road right next to me. So I will hop inside and we'll see what State Street Market Shops has to offer. So being less than 10 minutes from where Haeger produced all of their pottery, you would think pieces like this would be Royal Haeger. But much to my surprise, when I pulled this piece down, it actually is a California original from Torrance, California. I do not think I've come across these very often. You can see the foil is starting to come off, so it's entirely possible that, you know, unmarked pieces are California originals and I just didn't know them. George from the Antique Nomad talks about this company off and on. And they're always beautiful pieces, and this one totally qualifies. It's got a really cool glaze to it, but more importantly, it's got a great shape. And as you can see, it's only $15. So I don't know what the going prices are for California originals, but as a statement piece, even as a standalone, not sure, I'm assuming it's a vase, but yeah, it's a vase, not a candle holder. Just as a statement piece, would be a great addition for only 15 bucks. Neat piece. So as I mentioned, we're only about 10 minutes away from where Haeger was produced, and one booth over, we've got a bunch of Haeger. So you've got some of the standard forms that people are very familiar with. What I thought was neat was this one, this little house, birdhouse style planter that was created. Great shape and a great glaze on this one. But check out that one in the back. Gigantic pitcher / ewer form in the back. And then a much more maybe experimental modern glaze on this white piece with the green splatter. And this does fall into the Royal Haeger family. So if you're ever antiquing, doing vintage around the western Chicago suburbs, you are definitely going to be on the lookout for Haeger. So this booth is all kinds of fun with vintage books, vintage games, posters, Mad Magazine, Peanuts. But what I really wanted to showcase was this little corner that they've set up over here with all the Disney planters. So you've got Thumper, you've got Pluto, you've got, I'm going to assume that's Bambi with a really weird version of Thumper under him. Some of these did have markings. So this one says, well, this one just says it's Bambi, Walt Disney. So, but I don't know. That looks like a rabbit. So I think that might be Thumper. This one did say Thumper on the bottom. And then you've got Minnie Mouse, I'm going to assume. Scrooge McDuck, one of my favorites. And I guess that one's just Donald. But, oh wait, this one isn't saying it's Scrooge McDuck. This one is saying, oh, Ludwig von Drake. Oh, flashbacks. He did like commercials. Oh, I'm gonna have to look him up now. I do recognize him. He is different than Scrooge. But this is, oh, it's even got a date stamp on it. So 1961 Walt Disney Productions. All right, I suddenly have his voice in my head, and I can't remember what he did. A couple more pieces up there. So this is just like a fun little booth. They've even got the BC comics. I've got that. I've got the cookie jar. I've got the pitcher. My glasses are different. I think these might be the ones that came from Arby's that were a little bit later. I think mine, yeah, these are the Arby's ones. Mine are the ones I think you got them from gas stations. So anyway, fun little corner. Walk down memory lane. So this area is set up kind of just off a little cafe area that they got here in the store. But I had to highlight this one because this has got Laura from Fat Bird Finds all over it.
It is a Haeger lamp in that glaze that she likes so much. And it's just got this great shape. Look at those, look at the base of that. Just a fantastic silhouette. And it's 75 bucks. Replacement shade, but that's to be expected for something of the age. Absolutely phenomenal. Just like all of these lamps just have some great shapes to them. And check out that wooden mid-century modern. Got a metal floral one. This is too cute. It looks like milk glass shade, alabaster. Just says vintage Scotty. So it looks like the lampshade is sitting on. Now it's definitely, there's a finial at the top. So somehow this thing is mounted, although I don't see how. This is just too cute. Decorated on all four sides. That has to just clip onto the top because this is the modern light bulb that's in there. So somehow this is sitting on the light bulb, but it doesn't come off easily. So it's a very good clamp. And then just another cool base to a metal lamp there. Look kind of like an Asian style base that they put a really pretty replacement shade on there that I think really does fit the style of that very nicely. Very cool. And I just peeked over here for the smallest game of poker ever. Looks like a Bakelite poker stand with just 4 stacks in it. So I've never seen one that small, so I don't know if that's for a specific type of game. But it's got that pink and kind of a gray and a green mixed in it. Holy cats, and it's only $8.50. That's so cool. Never seen one like that before. But that would make for a very small group playing poker. I thought this was a good display to show because most of us have seen some version of this type of mid-century modern gold being done. But this one is, well, before I jump to that, we'll go to the back. A lot of them just have that marking on there saying it was made in the USA, but no maker's mark. This one actually has the sticker on it. I can get it to show up right. So this is showing it's not the weeping gold. This one is known as gold brocade, and it specifies right there it's from McCoy. So this style of the weeping gold is McCoy. Now, I don't particularly find this pattern attractive, but again, some of these I really am doing for educational purposes, so it's good to know that this style and this kind of a lotus bowl, if it doesn't have the gold sticker on the middle, would actually be McCoy. So this is a great looking primitives booth. The item I wanted to highlight out of here, although I'm in love with almost everything in it, is this blue willow pattern large platter. You can see on this, it has pretty severe damage. It's got a large crack running up the side of this. It does have a tag trying to talk about what it has. Early blue willow, 18-inch platter with old repair. And that's what I want to show, because even though it's got the crack in it, it was special enough at the time that they repaired it, and in order to do so, they used staples. So if you've never seen old repair like this before, this one actually has some pretty severe damage that I didn't even see on the front. You can see the cracks go in multiple directions. So these are old repairs, and it just shows that at some point the owner of this felt it was special enough or valuable enough or significant enough to keep it and to get it repaired, whether that was cheaper than buying a replacement or it was a sentimental piece that they wanted to keep. It, unfortunately, the repair makes it far less valuable than if it's in pristine, but to me gives it a value at a very different level that just makes it super cool and shows that the world is not perfect, and sometimes mistakes happen and you piece them back together and it's still valuable even after the fact. This booth also has a great collection of English luster or copper lusterware. And I just wanted to highlight it here because this is a piece I'm hoping to do a deep dive at some point with one of my collaborators in the past, Kitschy and Bitchy. Rebecca has a collection of this copper lusterware, and I'd like to learn more about it because these pieces are not signed in the bottom because they're of an age where they didn't need to be signed, but they're replicated in much more contemporary pieces. They're still vintage now, but I need to know, other than the markings, how you tell the difference between the 19th century pieces and the 20th century pieces that are usually marked made in Japan or sometimes Germany. But you can just see this just gives a really impressive look with all of these lined up. And this is really a fun booth I could spend a lot of time in. This is a really interesting piece to show. One, it's a nice dresser set, and sometimes you don't see all the pieces together. So you've got the hair receiver. You pull the hair out of your hairbrush and put it in there so you can make your hair rats to bump up your hair. You've got the powder box, a little pin tray, and then the bigger tray or some of the pieces to sit on. But what's interesting about this is it's clearly all the same design. You've got this curved, and then the indents with the, I guess they're daisies on there. You know, pretty much looking even closely at it, you would say absolutely this goes together. However, both of the trays are marked Limoges, but both of the boxes are M&Z Austria. So this is a case that a lot of the porcelain manufacturers would sell the blanks, and then those would go either to another company or would go to a home where a lady of well refinement would paint it herself. I did not find initials or any signatures on these pieces, so it's possible these were done as production pieces, but I do find it interesting that they mixed Austrian and French porcelain together. It's a beautiful piece. You'd only know it by picking them up, which of course I like to do, but never seen such great coordinating pieces that were so clearly by two different manufacturers. So this restaurant ware is kind of nice to show for a couple of different reasons. One, you see this set of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these little oval-shaped dishes. A little bit too large for condiments, maybe like a little berry bowl, something like that. What's nice about them is Syracuse very clearly date stamps everything. And so this shows a 1-II, which indicates the year and the month and year that it was made. So the 1 stands for January, and the II is 1954. But what's great is all of them have the same date stamp. So this set of 6 probably was all created at the same time out of the Court Street plant, because they had 2 different plants, and they changed the way they marked them. The Court Street had the number in the front, which represented the month, so 1 is January, and then dash a 2, or then a letter, and this one is II, which pushes it into 1954. So I think it was 1923 they started with A, B, C, and then they moved on. But then you move to the open vegetable bowls. These do not match that one, or the little bowls, but they match each other. And so this one has an HH-11, so the letters are first, which means it wasn't manufactured in the same factory. It was manufactured in the Fayette Street factory, and it was, the 11 is November, obviously, and then HH was 1953. So they're only a year apart, but 2 different factories. So it's possible they were all purchased together, but these were actually all made together. And it's great that they're selling them as a set and at a pretty decent price. The set of all 6 for only $18. So it's nice that they're keeping that together. The 2 bowls are priced separately, less of an issue there. But it's nice when you see a set like that. You could always accumulate the set, but because the date stamps match, you can tell that they were purchased together, and they have stayed together. I thought these were worth showing because I come across these labels on occasion They're new old stock labels, but they're usually just, the loose paper, and other than framing them, wouldn't really know what to do with them. And so what these people have done is they've taken the regular contemporary cans and actually applied the label to them, which seems simple enough, but I never would have thought of it. So they've got this Maryland Chief Extra Sifted Early Peas, and it is from the 1930s. Is that one. They wrote on the bottom what era they're from. The Victory Dark Sweet Cherries are from the 40s, which you would expect. Raggedy Ann Orange and Grapefruit sections. This one looks a little bit older. Poplar Brand Unsweetened Evaporated Milk. This is from the 30s. So the cans are newer. They've just cut them in a way to turn them into, they're suggesting them as pencil holders, and they're only $3.95. So you can definitely do something like that on your own, because again, I won't say that the labels themselves are rare, but because they're odd sizes, they are difficult and expensive to frame. So this is kind of, unfortunately, it might be, permanently attaching these might, technically be damaging them or losing their value, but they make them more usable, which should be what vintage is all about. And I think that's just a really creative use of vintage labels. So you've heard me talk about my copper luster collection that I'm just starting to build. And these pieces I thought were worth sharing because these would also be considered copper luster, but you can see these are marked. And the marking on the bottom of porcelain didn't start until the 1880s in Europe and 1890s, where European goods were marked for American export. So the fact that these have marks on them date them past the 1880s. So in some cases, they could still be old. You could probably do some research on this particular mark to see a lot of porcelain marks that probably represents a year. But the fact that these have marks on the bottom of them pretty much indicate that these are not the earlier 19th century pieces that I'm trying to build for my collection. But you can also see their prices are extremely reasonable. So they're beautiful pieces, still definitely have some history on them. Just need to learn a little bit more about telling the difference between the earliest pieces that aren't marked and the later ones that are. So technically, I did not forget to record my closing video. Technically. What I did do was leave my camera on photo mode. So what I ended up with was 2 photographs of myself hitting the button to start and hitting the button to stop, which basically just took 2 stills of me, and I didn't realize it until I went to put the video together. Oops. So I'm going to recreate one here, closing video here for the shop with me, and I'm just going to throw in a tiny haul video, which probably would have done a standalone, but as I'm piecing the video together, I realized the clips aren't that long, so this will just tack on to the end to make it a meatier video. So I did actually purchase a handful of items at the market shops State Street market shops. And I just kind of showed what I was buying, but I didn't get into the detail. But I definitely showed the booth of where I was buying. So one of the items has already been embedded into my personal collection. It is the copper luster. As I mentioned, the copper luster was something that I've really started getting interested in, starting to do some research on, purchase some books to do a little bit more research on it. Still hoping to do a deep dive with Rebecca from Kitschy and Bitchy because she has a personal collection, and even if she's not an expert, she'll know more than I do. So regardless, I'm trying to piece together what I can, and this item was in that booth where I showed the shelves of copper luster. This is one of the largest pieces that was in that collection. It's very similar to the cobalt design that I already had on a couple of the pieces I've already purchased. It does not have any sort of stamp on the bottom. It has a price tag. I did pay $45 for this, which based on the research is probably all of its money. Considering if I purchased on eBay, I would have had to pay for shipping. And what I'm struggling with on eBay is a lot of times the photographs, because of this, the reflective nature of the copper glaze, it's hard to get really good detailed photographs, and if you've watched my videos, you know I don't like damage, certainly not in my personal collection and nothing that I'm going to resell. So this was nice to be able to pick this one up. It's a nice big size. I had a fairly decent sized pitcher already, and this one's even larger than that. So I felt that the price was justified, and it's in absolutely pristine and perfect condition. So it's going to look great in my collection. So this is the only piece of copper luster that I picked up from that booth, but also from that booth, I picked up some pewter. So one of the things that I've been doing is I have, and I'll just kind of just go ahead and show you, I have this dough bowl, which I'm pretty sure is reproduction, but I don't care. It looks nice. It usually sits on my dining room table. It changes during Christmas time. It had pine cones in it. What I've done more recently is I've put a different tablescape on the dining room. And so this bowl has been sitting, was sitting empty on the counter, the little peninsula between the kitchen and the dining room. And if you want to know what my place looks like, go back into my videos for my Show Off Your Bunker tour, and you'll see exactly what that peninsula looks like. But this bowl had been sitting empty. So I was trying to figure out what to put in it. And I'm not sure I've necessarily found the right thing, but I feel like I'm on the right track. So what I started with was the dough bowl and these two pieces of pewter. These I actually found at one of my favorite thrift stores, Thrift and Dollar in Aurora, of $22 for the pair. They were marked as 19th century. I'm not sure if that's necessarily true because this one does actually have a manufacturer's stamp on it from, it looks like from Switzerland. So I need to do some research. I actually purchased a book on pewter thinking, oh, hey, I'm going to get some information. It was one of the worst reference books ever. So I need to still get some additional resources. But these were sitting in the bowl by themselves. And what it looked like was they were garbage. Like I'd suddenly created a trash bin for old pewter. So I needed to build it up. So I found these additional pieces. This is a much lighter tone of pewter, so I need to start paying attention to the coloration. But in the same place that I found the copper luster, I found these three individual pieces, all marked as 19th century. And from what I can tell, the guy definitely knows what he's talking about. His prices were, you're not necessarily getting a deal, but you're getting a fair price. So he seemed to know what he had. So that gave me some confidence as I'm purchasing, as I'm trying to learn. It's just one of those things to keep in mind. It's great to find things at a thrift store, but then you're not 100% sure what you're going to find. If you work with a reputable dealer, you'll have somebody that can maybe educate you along the way. And in some cases he put information on the tags. And so these are pieces that I find interesting. These two look like tiny little tankards, like particularly this one. This is really tiny, fits into my hand, because they're not tankards, they're measures. And so I've done a little bit of research on these. I still have the tags. I don't want to lose the information. So this one is a gill, and it actually says that right in the front, Gill. So a gill is a measure. And man, now off the top of my head, I can't think of what size a gill is. I'll put that in the video. So anyway, so this is a gill. So it is a measure, and it's not a creamer because there's no spout. So a lot of times these will get marked as creamers, and they'll think that it was owned by a guy named Gill. But it has no spout, so that was what makes this a measure. This is either a half gill or a quarter gill. And I don't think this one was marked. He has it listed as a 1/24th liter, and because there is some sort of relationship between a gill and a liter, so I have to look that up. I thought, and it is stamped 1/24. I don't know if you can see it, it's right there on the rim. So the measures are going to be marked that way, but you do have to look really, really closely to see them. And I don't see any, there's a 6 or a 9 on the bottom. I'm not sure what that represents. So I still need to educate myself, but I liked the looks of them. I liked their small size, particularly this tiny one. And then I also have this, which I have no idea what this is. I just like the shape of this one. I don't know if this is still a measure. He had marked this simply as a creamer. But again, there's no spout to it. So I don't know if that's a creamer or not. But I don't see any other marks. But it has that darker patina to it compared to the light pewter, which I think is more modern. So That one, it does have some stamps on it, so I need to look up him too. But anyway, I do like this patina, this darker pewter, and I think that also has an influence on how much tin versus aluminum, what the alloy is made out of. So something to educate myself on. But as I'm learning, I do feel, we'll see if I'm mocked by my friends, but I just think a bowl of these, particularly if I get a couple more of the small ones, it's just something different, and it's a different way to decorate. As opposed to just my usual, my very nice, clean, laid out, things like little tin soldiers lined up, kind of piling them together, because with the patina, they all have, some dents in it to show their age. It's just kind of fun, and because it's actually part of my kitchen, they actually seem like they kind of fit there. So, we don't know if that's going to stay there long term. I have a tendency to get ideas that cost me money. Because the gill was, I think it was $32 by itself. So, filling a bowl with some of these, even the quarter gill was $18. So filling a bowl with these can get expensive, but if it gives me the right look, it'll be worth it. And if I change my mind, I'll still have some nice pieces to tuck into the rest of my pewter and new copper luster collection. So that is my wrap up, my mini haul video for what I did pick up at the the State Street market shops. Again, those were located in just north of downtown Elgin, Illinois on State Street, Route 31. They are open, I should have grabbed their hours, but I'm sure you can find them on social media. 10 to 5, I remember, is all of their hours, but I think they might be closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. But nice variety, a decent sized building. I do think that 35 that was out front, that probably was a legitimate number. Some of the booths were fairly large. There's a nice mix. They do get into some more contemporary items. I had a candy booth. Hey, made my day. They had, some jewelry, estate jewelry. I mean, they do have a nice mix of what's available there. So a little bit for everybody, and definitely worth the trip to Northern Elgin. So thank you so much for staying with me and watching this shop with me video. I hope you're liking this style of video. To be honest, it's self-preservation. I completely bow down and support those who can carry a camera and pick things up through and actually legitimately let you shop with them. I had to find a compromise, because even doing this, I thought I was going to break things just showing one piece at a time. But it's also then fun doing a little bit of the research, because I'm educating myself at the same time I want to educate you. Don't think for a minute I had all of that information about Syracuse restaurant ware at my fingertips. Thank you, Google. And thank you for having two phones with me, one, a camera and a phone, because while I was taping on the one, I was looking at the notes on my other. So, don't think that that's just all inborn knowledge. It's just something you pick up, and sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And so those letters and numbers can mean something, and I have fun, figuring that kind of stuff out, even if I have no interest in buying it myself. So hope you're enjoying them. If you saw anything that you liked, let me know what you collect, what you found, what your favorite item was that I showcased today. And really just, again, want to thank you for giving me your time and having you put your trust in Trusty Huckster. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Well, show me a sign if you're wishing me to stay. Otherwise, I say goodbye and finish out the day. And that sunrise in the morning and you got nothing to say. Oh, that's when I'll be headed on my way. Hey, I hope I can abide by your area codes, and I'm bound to want